and welcome to our Women in Tech Sales series. And I'm very excited to have lots of smiling faces back at me right now. So welcome to Sunny, Kate and Tash. Thank you for being here, and I'm so excited to cover all things women tech sales, everything in between. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Awesome, wonderful. We've been chatting, we've discussed a few things about how we've experienced it, and obviously I know you all individually, and I know you girls all know each other as well, across different paths, and that's the beauty of being in tech sales in Australia. I think it's a very small pool, and one that we're able to forge some great relationships in. So I think let's start off, because not everyone will know who everybody is as they're tuning in. Let's start off with a little bit around what inspired you to pursue the career in sales, and what do you do in your role? Tash, should we start with you?
I was almost hoping you wouldn't choose me first, but that's all good. And actually, to be honest, I didn't really choose a role in IT or sales. I fell into it. I fell into it straight out of school. I basically started working for a partner in dispatch and receipt, and we had to answer the phones. And actually, it was right before Windows 95 came out, so I'm totally going there with my age already, Harriet. And yeah, I basically learnt a little bit about
anyway.
So I learned a bit about the industry, and kind of, from there sort of basically worked my way through to where I am today. I currently work at Palo Alto Networks. I ended up in cyber through the years and through my journey. I went from partner to distribution and then to vendor land, as they call it, and ended up, in cyber. And right now I'm a district sales manager for Palo. I have a team of 8, and I'm loving it.
Awesome. I love the vendor land. That was exactly what I wrote the other day. And I was like, will anyone understand what I'm saying? But I think everybody in the industry fully understands vendor land.
It is a world
it's
to
definitely
itself.
a place to be.
The world of
It
its
is
own.
a world to itself, yes, for sure. Now, Kate, you're also in Vendorland. Hello, tell us a little bit about your journey and where you're at.
Yeah, so like Tash, I fell into IT, I fell into sales. The week after I finished my HSC, and I'm not going to say the year, I started working in recruitment actually as a receptionist. And it was around the time of the GFC, and I was approached to join a distributor. And I thought, I'm not doing that. I'm going to, Artarmon and working in a place with a warehouse. And looking back, it was the best decision I made because I worked, the 2 leaders of the company at the time are still to this day some of my biggest supporters. And it was the best decision that I made. But during that time, I, weaseled my way up and also across in different roles, which is one of the perks of working for a distributor. I think it's provides a lot of opportunity, but that's how I landed in the wild world of IT. And I think just distribution, just in general, is a wonderful sort of landing spot for someone looking to move into vendor land or to a partner or anything like that. But that's my story. That's my backstory.
Yeah, awesome. And you're now, what's the role now, Kate?
So I am the go-to-market business manager for Australia and New Zealand for Arista Networks. And I've been here for 7 months now, and I'm loving it.
Awesome. And Sunny, you are in distributor land,
Yes.
Have you been to vendor land yet?
No, I've been to partner land very briefly, and then I swiftly came back to distribution because it's where I wanted to be for the beginning of my career.
Awesome. Tell us.
Well, I definitely landed into IT as well. I studied visual communications, which is a fancy way of saying graphic design. And I wanted to be in fashion. I wanted to be in like funky marketing. And then I got the funky marketing job and realized that, I don't think this is for me. I love the creativity, and I'm definitely a creative person, but I'm more a people person more than anything. So I actually had a marketing mentor who helped me get that first marketing job called Anna Christensen. And she then went to Nextgen, which is where I'm at now. And she was my marketing manager. So she got me into Nextgen, got me into IT, and it kind of opened up my idea of what my career was going to look like. I think as well, it's important to say I finished uni in 2020. So it was right at the beginning of COVID. And it was a very interesting navigation of what even is my career. Yeah, so I'm in distribution. I'm at Nextgen Group. I boomeranged. I was actually here in the marketing team. I went to a partner and then I came back as one of the vendor managers looking after Arista. So that's how I know Kate. I'm her vendor manager.
So you've gone obviously then from a slightly different journey, and I always think it's interesting because as Tash and Kate both said, that distribution world allows you to see so much of the different vendors, and I also feel like my background's from, I came into managed services first. That again gave me that same breadth because you get exposure to all the vendors and all the conversations and all of the things going on in the industry. You've bridged, Sunny, from marketing into vendor management. What's that journey been like, and why did you decide to do that?
I think it was quite a natural progression, I think, for me. I went from marketing at Nextgen, and then I went to a partner who did a lot of the same vendors that we were already doing marketing for. But I went in as like an alliance/marketing manager. So I was looking into the alliances, but I'm also still trying to do marketing as well. And I think when I got the gist of what channel was and what it looks like and what good channel looks like, I think that's what made me go, okay, I think I want to go back to distribution. I want to learn more about the channel, more about the vendors, more about the partners, have a kind of neutral glance on that as well. What does a good partner look like? What does a good vendor look like? And how does that make the channel work well? So that's why I kind of went into more of that vendor management role. It was quite natural. It felt natural.
And I think in that natural feeling of falling in, and again, I've had the similar story of falling in. And it's always interesting. I remember being at a conference once and somebody said, put your hand up if you said you wanted to be in tech sales. And like, everyone's like, did anybody say this growing up at the dinner table? Like, Mum, Dad, when I grow up, I'm going to be in tech sales. Now I'd be like, hell yeah. Like, that's exactly what everybody should be saying.
Yeah.
And my niece, when she was a bit younger, she's like, I just want to work in computers like Harriet, like Auntie Harriet.
I get asked all the time about, people that want to enter the industry and asking me about how should I get into IT. And I have to say, I say all the time, try to get a job in distribution, because it is such a great learning environment to see, because you learn not only about the vendors, but the different technology, all the different partners. You're right, Sunny, like it's just such an interesting world and it's really fun. You meet so many people. The networking is fantastic, and it is an awesome way to get into the industry, to be fair.
Yeah, awesome. And so I guess with that then, Tash, like, we talked, Sunny talked a bit there about mentor from that marketing side. Like throughout your career, I mean, you've been through, through that distribution into vendor. Like, what's a mentorship for you look like during your career?
To be fair, most of my career I've worked with men, so there are very few women in IT when I first started. But it's like everywhere, generous people give their time. If you're keen and want to learn and want to expand your own career, people will see that in you and will want to spend that time. I've been lucky enough through different roles to, forge friendships and relationships with people where they've taught me things. They've been inspirational about product or technology, or even about partners in the channel world. And I just kind of leaned into all of that and took whatever I could. Sometimes I even took the bad stuff. Sometimes you work with people that you think, okay, that's definitely not what I want to be. And use that as a guide as well, that, okay, that's their choice, this is mine, and you move forward. I try now in my own position to be generous with my time with others where I can. I definitely, if someone wants to have a chat about things or chat about their career or chat about performance or how do I do this or where do I go next or I'm not sure, I just try to have time for that, because, you want guidance from people if you can get it. And so, I just try to be as open as I can.
And that's such a great perspective, isn't it? And as you said, when you started out, as we're experiencing today, there are still fewer women in the industry. But, when you first started out, when I first, it was men that were leading the teams, that were teaching us the things and the ways and introducing us to different people as well, which I think has been great. And I think I find it very difficult to talk about women in tech without talking about the great men that have supported so many.
So true.
Here. Yeah. So yes, I hope that's okay to say. So for you, Kate, obviously you've just come into this role. Tell us about your mentorship journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think there's a really heavy weight associated to the word mentor. And I think that you'll meet a couple of amazing mentors in your life and hopefully your career, whether that be personal or professional. And I think in terms of mentorship, it can even show up in just a champion for you in the organization or an advocate for you in the organization. I think for the younger generation or sort of the early in career people, there's a lot of seriousness, but the mentors are very diverse, and some you'll have for your whole career, some you won't. Some will be a year, and that they get you through some challenges or things like that, or projects. But I think having a little bit of lightness around finding a mentor is important. I'm very lucky, and this should happen for most people, that people have approached me to say, would you be open to this? One of which, my first mentor was Mary Goulet. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me mentioning her on this podcast, but I met her. She was just so happy to welcome me into the organization when we worked together, because at that time it was, this is 15 years ago or 10 years ago, there was very little women within the organization, the industry, and she made it her responsibility, I think, to take me under her wing. We were very lucky that we got on as well, but I think we've all got a bit of a responsibility to identify the people that we think that we could help. But also, I think it's important to, if you see someone that you believe that you can learn from or who can support you, you just need to go and ask them, And I've done that as well. So I think that's probably some good guidance.
And then if we flip that, then people then that we see that are in the industry, obviously Tash said there about looking to give more time back. But how do you feel that that's approached on the other side? So if we see somebody that's fairly new in the industry, have you found that that's been receptive? If you're sharing with them some of your tips or insights or connections, like how do you feel like that's faring across the industry?
We probably can't include, but Sunny and I have had a conversation around mentorship, and and it's a pretty casual affair. It doesn't have to be a serious let's meet once a month in this capacity, but anytime Sunny has an issue or a challenge outside of our professional relationship, we can always discuss it.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I'll pitch in on that. I was just going to say that when I look at the wider IT community, being a little older than everyone else here, you work your network over such a long period of time that you meet so many different people, and you kind of you develop relationships with people where you catch up with them and you talk about things, and you end up keeping those connections. And it's nice you might have a coffee with someone and chat about, so what are you doing now and how are you doing that? And you end up, that networking piece where you're touching into people from your past, or even going to industry events that we go to where you bump into people and going, you're there now. Like what, those moments where you're talking and asking them, a lot of that still happens. I definitely am in contact with a lot of people from my past. Where really, you do talk about what they're facing and what they're doing and how they're doing it. And you talk a bit about the technology and where the industry is going. And it's good to kind of hear those things and learn what else is out there, because we can get into our little bubbles as well. But definitely, I think that there is mentorship across the industry. But yeah, you've got to look for it and be available to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think, like, big shout out to LinkedIn for, being in our pockets at all times when I'm like, what was the guy's name from that company? And I quickly chuck it in, and then I'm like, James, great to see you again. I'm like, thank you again. Because as you said, over the years, I've been in Australia now nearly 10 years. I think, I can't remember if it's 10 or 11. I need to double check. I was thinking I went to an event on Tuesday, and I'm seeing all these people that I've not seen since I started the business, or maybe at the beginning, and they're like, you're still doing it, and what's happening, and who you're here with, and it is a great opportunity to be able to do that. And I think being able to pick up the phone to different people and actually just doing it, like actually just like not asking for permission to pick up the phone and reach out to somebody and say hey. And I remember, I think we I know Tash, you and I know John Fox very well, but I remember when I started the business and I rang him and I was like, John, I was like, can I just ask you I've got questions? And he was like, yeah, go for it. And you ask, and then that's it, and then you might not see him again for a year. But if he then did the same thing to me, as many people do, I'm an open door. Ask me the questions, I'll share my insights. We're all in this together, and I think it is a great opportunity to not necessarily have to have that formalized mentorship. You're with me, I'm with you, and we're going to speak,
Yes.
on that routine. But hey, I can ring you and I can check in with you and I can flick you a quick question and I can get your thoughts and insights. And I think that is certainly something, if you put yourself out there, you can definitely build up over the time. But I think as well, not to be disheartened if you are joining the industry, to then see then that actually you're not there yet, and that's okay. And yes, it might seem that we just pick up the phone a few times and we do a few deals and we're done, but actually that's taken us 10 years to get there, or 15 or 20 years to get there. So it's really about finding that journey. I think that's a great thing to highlight.
I think generally people love to talk about themselves, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I think they've always got a story to share, and I particularly think that people love to help other people, especially when it's someone less experienced or younger. So I think it's very easy to get help and support when you ask for it.
And what about the the whole the diversity now we're seeing in the teams, and then obviously in the panels and the speakers? What are we has anyone seen obviously the benefit of that? Obviously we're seeing more women coming into the roles. And what do you think diversity brings into an organization or into a team or department?
I definitely think diversity makes a place or a workplace more interesting and more fun in some respects, because you get to learn more, because other ideas are presented to you on what could be a solution or how to view the problem. And I love that, some of the people I work with now, a lot of them come from the Defence Forces. I probably have got to know these people outside of work. And, one of our leaders in our business worked at MI5. I think that's so cool. And she's I'm like, your experience is incredible. I've got a bit of a crush on you, crush, because she's incredible and her experience is excellent. But you want to know about their lives. And when they do give you an opinion on something, it makes you really open to it. And I think it definitely makes us a better organization having different viewpoints. Because it just opens everyone up a bit more.
Sunny, for you're seeing a lot of different vendors. What's your experience of seeing different teams from the outside in as well?
Yeah, no, going back to kind of the diversity question, I think I'm really lucky to have started my career when I did as well. I've always been surrounded by a really diverse workplace. I will say this industry still can have pockets of boys clubs. But other than that, the general consensus,
I don't believe you.
The general consensus is it's great to work in a diverse workforce, whether that be people from different countries. Like Nextgen, we've got this map in our office which has little pins on it from where everyone's from, and I really love that because you get to see how diverse we are from that point of view. And I think you're right, Tash. The different backgrounds that people have, we can all bring a different perspective to an issue or a solution. I really love that. And I think looking across the vendors, you get to see how different teams work, and it's cool. I think I'm very lucky. I feel very lucky to start my career when I did, because I'm grateful to have met so many amazing women, amazing people in general. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you said there about the diversity to solve problems and bring unique experiences. And I think that is definitely a benefit of most people falling into the industry, especially in the management, sales, business development roles. And because we then bring these unique set of skills, and my background's event planning. And everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Or you've got logistics and people and parts, and that's exactly the same thing in tech. You've got logistics, people, parts, technology. You've got new things evolving all the time. And if you bring that unique perspective in and listen to that as well, and I think being listened to is a huge part of you can have a voice, but is it going to be listened to? Is it going to be brought on or brought forward to be able to champion different ideas? Then everybody learns from that, and we learn from our mistakes and what other people are bringing, and then we can bring different unique points to it as well. With regards then to, obviously we covered a bit of mentorship, a bit of coming into the industry, what do you think makes us stand out, or what do you think, like, what unique positions are we bringing into the industry? Because I think a lot of people will look at, it is that male dominated, yes, can I break through, but how hard is it going to be, or how will I stand out from the crowd? Like, how do you think that being a female in the industry has helped you get to where you are, has helped you accelerate in your career?
It's interesting because, not to be controversial, I think in general, women and men, we tackle and we resolve issues differently. When we're brought together to find a resolution, that's pretty powerful. But in saying that, people from diverse backgrounds, it's the same thing. I think, I'm the only female on the leadership team at Arista Networks, and whilst I had a previous relationship with some of the team, and we worked really well together, I think it was not deliberate, but it was certainly a factor when I was hired, because another perspective, another voice needs to be heard, and that voice needs to be different from everyone else on the leadership team. And it's really powerful when we collaborate. But at the same time, taking gender out of the mix, my life experience is different to everyone else, and, everyone's different, and it should be looked at from that point of view. But also, I think if we take a step back and we look at, what attracts a woman to apply for a role versus a man, being a mother, there's certain things, elements that I look for in a job description, and I'm trying. We're actually hiring at the moment, and we'll continue to hire, trying to look at a job description to make it inclusive, so we attract, different people, from different walks of life, parents or students or people that are jumping ship from another industry with incredible amounts of experience into our industry. So I think it's larger than just a female and a male conversation. It's a diversity conversation across the board.
Yeah. And what do you think helps you stand out though, like in that realm? So you're yes, like, if we take those away, we've got these unique standpoints and looking at ways we can bring other people in. But from a female perspective, like I'll give you an example of what I mean from my perspective. Is I always joke that, like, being given a name like Harriet, that not many people have, and then being female in the industry, I'm like, tick, like, I'm in, like, everyone's going to remember me. It's it's for me, that's what's really helped me. Whereas, if I'm a guy called Dave, and I'm in the industry, like, yes, I've got to stand out, and yes, I can do that through my own merit or through what it is that I'm delivering. But I do truly believe that being female and having a unique name, and you then have to be good. I probably should say that, like, you then have to actually be good at what you do. Otherwise, I'll remember and be like, female Harriet, she's crap. And that will definitely also stand out. But luckily, I feel like I'm on the other side, hopefully. So, with that for me, I've always felt that being a female in that room has really helped me.
That's an interesting point. If I look at when I first joined the industry, I was a little bit younger. And so it was that eager Kate, that younger Kate, the Kate that just wanted to learn as much as she could, gather as many skills. And like I mentioned earlier, I sort of moved up and across and around, and that's the wonderful world of distribution. And, over the course of my 15 years in IT, now I'm very different. I've got an 8-year-old son. I'm very good at multitasking. And so now I've got a more strategic mind frame. And I think, Kate, who's got lots of experience, but also my personal situation of being a mother, brings a lot to it. And I think, I can't discount the wonderful relationships mentors, advocates, champions, friends that I've built, relationships within the industry. I think that comes into play, and I don't think that's talked about enough. We're a very small industry in Australia and New Zealand, and I think we do a wonderful job at building each other up and advocating for each other.
Yeah. So, like Tash, for you, because obviously you're a mum as well, female in the industry. What do you think? Like, what unique positions do you think that's giving you in the industry? Let's look at it from that, because I think we're all here very positively, and I definitely don't. When we talked about this a few weeks ago, the aim is not to be like, this is how we survive, and this is how we get on, because we're all successful in the industry. But what unique position do you think it's brought for you?
Absolutely. And I'm going to use a few cliches. I definitely think that, as a woman, I've had an advantage because I think that I'm more likely to be open to being vulnerable in a meeting. So I think being able to say, actually, I don't know what you're talking about there. Can you explain that to me? No one kind of bats an eyelid, and I've had customers quite openly then explain to me, that technology, but it's also given me an edge in terms of our relationship, because all of a sudden then we have this back and forward where, they're helping me learn about them, and then I can ask more questions to learn even more about them, that if I hadn't shown that vulnerability, I probably wouldn't have got to with that customer and developed that relationship. So I definitely think there's some, definitely early in my career, I saw those sorts of things where being a woman did give me an edge, because maybe I leant in and listened a little more, asked more questions about the other person, where it might have been a bit more transactional if it was two men. But obviously that's very, very, being very cliche but I also think from a managing point of view, having children, going on maternity leave, the industry has come a long way, but still has a long way to go in terms of parental leave, backfill cover for salespeople. Even part-time work doesn't really exist in the industry for salespeople. And it's kind of funny when you think about it. Why do we have one person and we have to rely on this one person? And I've definitely tried to champion that flexibility around having kids and what you need. And people want that, they want it. We all have to work. Definitely Australia's become too expensive for us all not to be working. But, you also have responsibilities at home. It's not always kids. There are other things in people's lives. And, I think as a woman, it's, so much responsibility at home historically has been on the female side. It doesn't mean that it is today as much, but I look at my team and the people that report into me, and this year actually 50% of my team is having a baby, which is exciting. We've already had 2 boys. We've got one more boy to go. We don't know whether the fourth baby will be a boy or a girl. But everyone in the team needs that flexibility and understanding. And I think women do bring some of that to the workforce, and have brought it to the workforce in a way that, men probably hadn't thought about. And so I hope that we've had an impact from that perspective for sure.
Just on that topic, I had a wonderful thing happen to me in my career. And this was when Blake was born. I took 12 months off maternity leave, chomping at the bit to get back to the workforce. I joined back into one of my prior companies 3 days a week. And then I got a promotion. And that promotion was the first sales role that was ever approved for 3 days a week. They obviously, said to me, it's up to you to climb back up to 5, which was always the case. But that was a really positive experience for me. And that was because we work really hard. We want both of the worlds, we want to be a wonderful mom and to have that family life. But we also really want to get our accolades and achievements and work with people and go back to the corporate life. So that was amazing. And I'll always be grateful, always, for that.
Yeah, amazing. What about you, Sunny?
I was just thinking, I was taking all of that in there. But one of the things that another mentor has told me is, I think when you're trying to, I'm obviously at an age where I'm still growing my network, and I'm at the beginning and I'm meeting lots of people. And I think sometimes there might be something in your track that stops you and makes you think like, oh, what is this industry? Is it for me, or is it welcoming of me? And I think the main thing is, it doesn't matter what industry, it doesn't matter if you're in a female dominated industry, a male dominated industry, I think backing yourself is one of the best things you can do for yourself. And that was some of the best advice. And I was like, it's so simple, but it's like backing yourself. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, it means that I know what I can bring to my family, my friends, to the workforce. I know what I can bring and I know who I am. And I think having that like self-belief and confidence of you want to do a good job, you will do a good job because that's who you are and that's what you want to set out to do. And I think the more I wake up every day, I have this like playlist I play on the way to work. It's called Power. And it's all these like powerful songs. I've got I'm Every Woman by Shaka Khan and some Coldplay, some really good like powerful music. And it gets me in the mood. It makes me go, it doesn't matter what day you're going to have. You might have 10 different challenges or 0 challenges. You may have a really easy breezy day, but I'm going to set out to do the best by myself because that will benefit others, right? And I think I don't focus so much on, because I think I was really getting into it, like women in the industry, what does that mean? Like, am I ever going to get to where I want to be? And like, yes, you will get there. You just have to back yourself, do the work. And I think that's what I'm focusing on for right now is just backing myself and going forward.
Following on from what you said, Sunny, I think women tend to keep a lot of things under wraps. And a mentor once said to me years ago, I was working really hard. She said, you need to tell people, people see 2% of what you do in a day. And that's projects that you complete, the updates you give. But I think, women in IT, we just want to get stuff done. I do believe, and this could be, controversial to say, but men are a little bit more open and confident to share what they're doing and self-promote. And I think, that's still something I'm learning to do, but it's really powerful and it adds a lot of value.
And it's trying to find the balance, isn't it, between being like, I'm great and I did this thing today, versus then sharing that so that it's just shared for learning or, for insights and updates, etc. And something actually I often do is I will ask myself, if I was a guy, what would I do like in this situation? Because and the example I will share is that I was booking travel for a client. I was traveling for a client and I spent probably an hour trying to decide what hotel I should stay at because I was like, is that too expensive? Is that like, will they be okay with that? And then I also go, okay, well, this one's closer, but it's more expensive. But I don't mind, I'll travel. I'll get there, it'll be fine. And then I remember going in and I said to the team, I was like, if I was a guy, this is where I would stay, this is what I would book, and I would just own it and do it. And that was what I did. And I was like, now for accommodation, I put my man hat on, and I'm like, right, what would I do? Let's go out and do it. And I think, and I share that with Jess because I said this to all of my connections, who most of them in the industry are, majority of them are men. And they will laugh then with me because they'll be like, yeah, why are you thinking about that? It's also a good perspective to be like, actually, I'm probably overthinking this and no one else is doing it, so let's lean into that.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a great example.
Do you think
we've all been there? Yes.
Yeah, if we want to get things done, make those decisions. Awesome. So, quick question for everybody. What would be a piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? So you've started out, and obviously, Sun, I know you're still fairly new, but I mean, you're still a few years in. And, for everybody, like, what would be, if you look back now and you're just starting out, what would you say to your younger self? What piece of advice would you give?
I think the biggest thing for me was when I was starting out, you're not going to get everything perfect. And if you do make a mistake, call it out and ask for some guidance and advice. You are not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it right. I think, it's highly competitive out there, right? So you want to be the best, but I think the best can be a little bit more self-aware, acknowledge their mistakes, learn from it and move on. So that would be my piece of advice.
Yeah, awesome. Tash?
Actually, the advice that I was given from a woman that I worked for gave me some advice around asking for more money. I think one of the things lots of people have issues around talking to their boss about, pay review and earning more. And her advice to me was, negotiate early, negotiate often, and never, ever, ever be upset when you're told no, but keep going, keep asking. And I just think it was such good advice, because I think sometimes we can work ourselves up on a pay review discussion about wanting more money and internalize it and use a lot of emotional energy about it. And then when we're told no, or that we have to wait, it feels so big. Yet if we were consistently talking about it, it would break down that emotional buildup that we do. And it is okay to be told no, but keep asking, because if you keep asking, you will eventually get it, So that would be the piece of advice that definitely, I think I'm really thankful that I got. And I definitely think more people should hear about.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Tash. Sunny, what about you?
I'm just writing down what Tash and Kate said. So.
Yeah, I'll send that bit.
I'm like, okay, sounds really good. Thank you. I mean, my younger self, I would just say, like, just keep going, be open, be agile. Actually, that's my advice. Be agile. I don't think having any rigid plans, maybe at the beginning or forever. I think agile is definitely the way to be. We actually have a saying in Nextgen, I don't know if it's too good, but we say agile, not fragile. It's pretty on the nose, but I don't know. I think it's really helped me realize that everything can change, especially in distribution. Like, partners can change, vendors can change, and just staying agile with new plans and being open to opportunities. Everything's an opportunity.
Everything is an opportunity. I agree with that.
That's an awesome one. I love that. Agile, not fragile.
Yeah,
so hard not to be fragile when there's so much change, but it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Find your champions and stick with them. They'll help you not be fragile during that. I remember when I first, probably not so early on in my career, but when I actually first came to Australia, and I was working for a company, and I've been there because, again, female in coming to, especially in Western Australia, we have a smaller pool than you guys do over East, and came to WA, and then everyone's like, female in tech, like, understands the class, like, I was bombarded with all of these questions, but I was like, but come for me, like, ask for Harriet, like, not that she ticks that box, like, let's get through. And I always said, I was like, I'll never be your tick box, like, I'm never, you've got to want more than that. I want to be pitched against the men. I want to earn my own right, not just be like, oh, well, we need her because we need a female in the business. And I remember going for coffee with someone that I used to work with, actually, in Manchester, and he moved to WA in the data center world. And I met with him, and he said, my one piece of advice for WA, more specifically, he said, is that it's very small. Everybody knows everybody. So he said, don't move around, like decide what you want to do. Don't go from job to job to job, because if you do that, people will take you, they'll throw the money at you, and then you won't enjoy it and you'll want to go somewhere else. And I think I probably would have jumped around, because there was so much opportunity, and I could see all of these, these places and things that I could be doing. But actually I ended up staying put, and I'd only been there, I think, 3 or 4 months. I stayed put until 12 months, but knew it wasn't right. And I think that was probably why I was questioning so early on. And then went to work for another MSP for over 5 years. And then left that to start this business. And I think, every time that's now the piece of information or piece of advice I share for anyone coming into the industry, in WA or in Australia, because I think in Australia now, there's all the people that are moving, and we all know who they are, and that unfortunately that reputation does follow those moves, especially if you are doing it regularly without much merit or reason behind it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, it's a great piece of advice around personal brand, and I think when you are looking at hiring, you do look at how often someone moves, and it can be a detractor. So it's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'll let him know he's been mentioned. Awesome. So I'm going to do a quick a lightning round, but rather than ask you all the same questions, I'm just going to do one to each of you, and then we'll wrap it up. It's nothing scary. You're all going to know the answers to it, and then we'll take then anything that you want to share in terms of maybe a win of what you're most proud of, or something that you're most proud of what you've done in your career, and then wrap it up from there. Because I think there's lots of gold in here, and I'm excited to get this one out. So with the lightning round question, so Sunny, what is your favorite sales tool?
Do you mean like actual CRM, like physical tool?
No, it could be anything. Like what helps you do your job, what helps you sell more in the tech industry, or what helps you every day.
Being an active listener, I think, if that can be used as a tool. I love to talk. Like Kate said, people love to talk about themselves, but one of the things is I love talking to people and getting as much as possible in a nice way. Like I want to learn about their life and their story, and I love hearing about people's story. And I think that's one of the things that I think I've worked on to be quite good at, to be an active listener.
Yeah, awesome. Kate, what would be one word to describe your career in tech sales?
Varied.
Varied. I like that. Yes, I think everyone would agree with that. Varied, awesome. And Tash, what's the best book that you've read in relation to your role or podcast or anything in relation to something that someone else could pick up?
My gosh,
Could be a person to follow.
I'm totally now coming blank 100% on anything.
To answer that question,
Go on.
Please do it. Answer it for me.
there is a podcast by an individual. Her name's Carissa Breen, and it's called the KBI Media Podcast. It's KBI Media, I think. It's on Spotify, Google Play.
Yeah.
And Carissa is Australian. She's based here. And she interviews some of the most amazing people, and the topics are really varied. And especially if you're looking to work for a partner or get on the end customer side, or just looking to have some sound bites and some extensive knowledge about the industry and what customers are actually facing. Because we talk about our products and, but what's the problem they're actually solving? So good. So good. So KBI, plug for Carissa.
Yeah, wonderful. I'll make sure I pop everything we've talked about.
Thanks, Kate. Appreciate that one.
No worries. All good.
Yeah, it's always when you put on the spot and you're like, I've got a million.
Oh my God, I
books
can't
on my
even.
bedside table.
Yeah. Can't even remember.
I'm halfway through Samantha Wills, the jewelry designer in Australia.
Oh.
It's amazing.
How she built the business?
Yeah, how she built the business.
Wow.
And the one price, because I mainly just read like professional development books, and I got to the point where I was like, I just can't turn it up. My head was so fried, I think, because I do it all day, and then I read at night, and then I listen to podcasts when I drive, and I was like, I think this is too much. So I started reading Hanging by a Thread by Erin Deering, who is Australia based. So she created Triangle bikinis. And her book is about hanging by a thread of building this, and I didn't realize how big it was because I knew about it in the UK, but it talks about her, building the business, building it up, and then where she's at today. I won't spoil the story. And then after that, it recommended the Samantha Wills book, and I was like, oh, I've heard about this book, and I cannot put it down. And like every night, I'm like, I'm so tired, but I'm going to keep reading. So yes,
I definitely mean check it out.
Yeah. Harriet, there's one by Zoe Foster Blake that's just come out. So Hamish Blake's wife.
Yeah.
So she's the CEO of Go-To Skincare in Mecca.
Yeah.
Love her.
Really good. It's fiction, but it's based on her experience building up Go-To. So recommend that
awesome.
one.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I chuck all of those in the chat. So before we wrap up, share a tech win, a tech sales win. It could be a deal, it could be a relationship, a partnership, a collaboration, it could be absolutely anything. It could just be getting in the role, whatever, but a little win to end our conversation around tech sales for women.
I'm going to go left field.
I will be
Yeah, you go.
Sorry.
No, you
I
go.
think
you go.
for me, like I started my career at Nextgen in marketing, and then I moved on. And I think making the decision to come back, like be a boomerang and actually come back to an organization that you left, like doing that and making that decision was like quite hard because, going back is people can view it in different ways. But for me, it was like the best decision ever to come back and actually go, I've got a lot more learning that I want to do, and I'm going to learn in distribution. And I think taking ego out of it and them accepting me back as well is very lucky. But that I think for me at the point of my career, like that's been a win for me, is just following my gut, trusting my gut, and coming back to a role that I know I'd be able to learn in.
Yeah, amazing. And how, and I think that humility element of that, I've got more to learn, I want to come back. And I think, I did a series with like the top 1% of salespeople. And, within that, the key thing that kept coming back was thirst for knowledge, wanting to learn more, and, being vulnerable and open and honest. And I think that's a huge win because, you could have said, well, no, I don't want people to see that I've gone back. And actually, that's not about anybody else. It's about you. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I probably, on a similar vein, I sort of think that through my career, I've gone from being in partner and then in distribution, and I kind of kept that channel element in my career. And moving to Palo Alto, I went customer first, or customer facing, I should say. And that's been a big change. I think that my skill set is, my superpower is managing people and managing a team. And I love doing that. That is really what brings me joy. But taking those skills and doing it with a customer facing team and being in front of the customer, that has been a huge win for me. I've loved the experience. It's exciting. I'm learning all the time, and yeah, that would be my big win.
Yeah, amazing. And it's seeing that you can just go, especially for those that are not in the industry, you can just keep going on your same vein and know exactly, where you're going, and it's that same thing, next, just the next rung up. But then, like you said, to take something outside of that comfort zone when you've been in the industry for so long is a great win, and to see you succeed in it as well. So yeah, massive congratulations. Yeah, awesome. Kate.
I could pick two, but I guess the first one was when I came back from maternity leave. I'm feeling a little bit, out of the loop, and was offered the promotion into my first sort of sales, I guess, role, because I was very much back of house, and just believing in myself that I could do it, because I thought, well, hang on, 3 days a week, I don't know if I could do this sort of leadership style position, and that was a real sliding doors moment. I could have said no, and I could have maybe been back there, so.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that must have been a journey coming back in. And I think, I've got a few clients that I work with, I've got women that have come back, that are in that three day a week, and I think just navigating, their journey and helping them through that has actually been really exciting to be part of, because it's a very difficult challenge, and to come back and then keep going is amazing. So so thank you all for joining me. I'm ready to go. I think today's gonna be a killer day. What a way to start my day with you three. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for bringing your experience, but also bringing challenges and things that you've seen. And I think for me, I'm going to say thank you to all the mentors and the people that have helped me get to where I am. And I think, for you, I think that's really shone through in terms of when we want to try and do something, who can help us. And I think that is definitely a trait that I want to share with so many more people, because there's opportunities. And I will pop all of your details in the show notes so everyone can reach out. They can say hi, and let them know, let you know what they thought of the episode, and maybe reach out for some informal mentorship, without needing to subscribe to those contracts of monthly, weekly, and so on. So thank you for being here. Thank you for giving your time, and I look forward to seeing you at an event soon.
Thank you, Harriet. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Harriet.
So much.
Great
Harriet.
to see you.